am officially about to hit $1 million in revenue across my business. And you know what? This did not happen overnight. This has been 6 years in the making. And today I wanted to create and break down a framework for those of you also on your 7-figure journey. This business that I've built has been slow, it's been intentional, and you know what? It hasn't always been this glamorous. To be honest, I don't look like this every day. Most days the empire has been built in my pajamas, in my sweatpants. But brick by brick, over time, launch by launch, offer by offer, I have created what is now I can almost call $1 million, a 7-figure business. In today's podcast episode, I'm breaking down exactly how I did it, the lessons I learned, and what to do differently if I was starting all over in 2026. Welcome to the Dishing Up Digital podcast, where the dress code is sweatpants and the business model is freedom first. I'm your host, Ellen, and I quit my 9-to-5 job because it was sucking the soul out of me, and I figured out the Wi-Fi was better at home anyway. And now I am a proud 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. grind girly, building a business that feels good, pays well, and leaves room for a glass of midday rosé. Around here, we are not chasing the hustle. We're building freedom-first businesses that make an impact on the world without sacrificing our sanity. Whether you're a coach, creator, service provider, or CEO in the making, this podcast is your permission slip to do business your way. With strategy that slaps, mindset that moves, and the vibes that feel like a voice note from your biz bestie, this is Dishing Up Digital, baby. The wine is optional, but revenue isn't. Okay, so part one of this video is going to be a little bit of context before we dive into the frameworks, the juicy lessons. I want to talk about where this money has come from and the business that I've built, in particular for those who might be new around here and you don't even know what I do and you're like, how the hell has this chick made $1 million? Because trust me, I get it. I mean, I feel a little bit of imposter syndrome filming this video. I'm like, really, Ellen? I did the math on this. How many times? I was going to say 1 million times, but not quite. And part of me can't actually believe that my little business has the capabilities of creating income on this level. So if I were to break this down year by year, in 2019, I started my side hustle. I made around 20,000 New Zealand dollars. 2020 was the year that I went full time and I made $80,000. 2022, we doubled that almost to 140,000 New Zealand dollars. 2023, we hit the $200,000 milestone. 2024 was 269,000, just short of 270,000 New Zealand dollars. And so far in 2025, despite having a lot of time off this year and completely restructuring a lot of my business, I have made over 200,000 New Zealand dollars. This also excludes any of the money that I have made from this content studio, which is where I'm recording today. Regular listeners of the podcast or YouTube subscribers will be familiar with this space, but this is my second business. So excluding that, that is over $900,000 in revenue. Now, of course, we do need to disclose. I know most of you guys already know this, but that's revenue. It's not profit. So don't try hack my bank accounts because there's definitely not $1 million in there. And what I want to get across in this episode, my $1 million business has not come about like a lot of other people you might hear talk about this. They will have created some new groundbreaking app, or they were an early investor in Uber, or some kind of crazy story like that. I am still very much a solopreneur. I'm a creator. I am a girl who just likes making content for social media, and I managed to turn that into a career, into a business. And I know by the time I turn 30 next year in March, I will have crossed that $1 million milestone. I really think a huge part of me hitting this revenue number is, number one, it's been the consistency over time. That's why I wanted to break down, the past 6 years of income to get to this point. It is showing up again and again, despite sometimes shit hitting the fan, let's put it bluntly, and sometimes running your own business can be hard. And another element for me has really been growing my different income streams over the last few years. I am no longer just a social media manager like I was in 2020, 2019. I also have revenue streams like brand partnerships, sponsorships, digital products, online courses, coaching, events, speaking, all of that good stuff. And if you want a more in-depth revenue breakdown, check out this previous podcast episode. I'll link it up above on a card if you're watching on YouTube, or the show notes if you're on Spotify or Apple listening. But this was a video where I broke down a 40K month of my business and really kind of got underneath the hood of my business and shared what each revenue stream was and shared the percentage of each revenue stream. So if you're interested in that, like the real specifics of my business and where the money comes from, definitely go check out that episode. I want to jump now into part 2 of this video, which is going to be all about the things that worked well in my business and what has actually, in my opinion, contributed to this growth. First things first, on the topic of those multiple revenue streams, I want to talk about clarity with your offer suite. This is the key thing that I've identified. And to be honest, this is something that stays the same from whether you are scaling from 10K months to 100K months or whatever your milestone is. You have to get really clear on what it is that you offer. Maybe this is, a conversation of what makes you particularly special. What's your UVP? What is it that you have a skill in that you can double down on and offer to your audience or community? And how can you monetize that skill and structure it in a way that has a beautiful looking offer suite? Now, I use across all areas of my business what I call an ascension offer suite. I use this for my brand partnerships, I use this for my coaching, and I use this for my social media management and strategy and consulting services. What this looks like is a entry-level product or service, a mid-level product or service, and a third level or like your top tier deluxe package or service. This is exactly what I teach my students in the Dishing Up Digital School when they're getting started as social media managers, but that's the framework that I started with as a social media manager. I had something like an Instagram makeover service, I had basic social media management, and then deluxe social media management. And the idea with an ascension model is you can get people in on your lower ticket product or offer and then upsell them as they learn to fall in love with you and your business. It worked so well for my social media management services. That was how I scaled to that first 6 figures in my business exclusively, was through social media management. And then as I grew, I've been applying that to my coaching services. I have a template bundle, which will lead you into the Dishing Up Digital School, which is my 12-month mentorship program for social media managers, which will eventually lead you into my higher ticket mastermind. I literally have clients or students that I have worked with for 3, 4, 5 years because they've come on this journey through my offer suite. And here is a very key lesson. It is so much easier to sell to someone who's already bought from you than to sell to a complete stranger. And this is where if maybe you were selling at the moment a $49 digital product and you're like, yes, this is going to be what makes me a millionaire. I hate to break it to you, but unless you have 1 million followers, you are probably going to struggle to hit that milestone, right? Because you're going to have to be constantly selling this new $49 digital product over and over again. However, if I take a look at my business model, I do have a template bundle, a lower ticket digital product. And I'm going to put on the screen here on YouTube how much money it's made me since I've launched it. I don't actually remember off the top of my head because it's not actually the moneymaker in my business. It is something that will send people further up the offer chain. And like I said, this is a pattern that I repeat for all my revenue streams. I have it with my brand partnerships as well. You can sign up to sponsor my YouTube channel at an entry-level offer, or you can go for some of my more deluxe packages, which include a multi-platform marketing campaign. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge to any brands watching this. Hit me up. But clarity in your offer suite, building an ascension model is so key to reaching this milestone of $1 million. When you are a creator like me, a freelancer who does not have that huge team, who does not have that huge following that you can funnel into all of your services and products. The second thing that has really worked on my journey to $1 million in revenue has been audience building. And I specifically wanted to call this step or tip audience building, not growing to X many followers or reaching X many followers on YouTube, on Instagram, or whatever platform. Because I truly believe, I've talked about this in so many of my past videos, it's not about your follower count. It's about your offer, it's about your messaging, it's how you sell. And I have so many successful students who are booked out social media managers who, number one, may have no Instagram following because they built their business purely off pitching and networking. Or number two, they have under 1,000 followers and they're working full time in their business. So I truly believe your follower count isn't everything. However, when you start wanting to scale to the big numbers, the 7 figures, this is really where having more people in your community opens up so many doors. Again, coming back to the brand partnerships, for me, that has been a revenue stream that might have just trickled along a little bit. I had the odd sponsorship once a year, and it's only been this year or maybe the past 18 months that I've doubled down on that. And let's be honest, the dollars that come through from brand partnerships are directly tied to your views and to your community. So building your audience is going to become an asset in your $1 million business. However, don't fall into the limiting belief that you can't be making good money, that you can't be building your dream business with only 1,000 followers, because trust me, I've seen it, I've lived it, and it can very much be your reality. Tip number 3, when it comes to what's actually worked in my business on my $1 million journey, has been creating demand with my content and really fine-tuning my messaging. Like I just said, messaging really is everything, in my opinion. How you show up, how you present your offers, how you can create urgency, demand, and also give your audience a reason to be part of your community and a reason to sign up for your services or to come and work with you. I am not someone who can sit here and say that they have 1 million followers or, even I don't have that many viral videos. I'm trying to think. On YouTube, our most viral video is my sister cutting her hair, which we filmed about 9-10 years ago. On Instagram, I don't think I've ever had a video hit 1 million views. On TikTok, I've had a couple. But what I'm trying to get across is my focus is not on content that goes viral, content that gets lots of likes, lots of followers, those vanity metrics. You've heard me talk about this a lot on the podcast in the last couple of episodes. My focus is on content that converts, creating a strong message and selling my offers. That, at the end of the day, is why I am someone with 18,000 Instagram followers who has been able to hit this 7-figure milestone before perhaps some people with 2 times the followers, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times the followers than me. And you know what? Even at this point in my business, I am not on my high horse. Like, I am down in the trenches, cold pitching for brand partnerships and negotiating and upselling through different opportunities. Your girl knows how to hustle. And I think that is a mentality, that is an approach with both my content and just like everything in my business that has gotten me to where I am today. And that brings me nicely to tip number 4, the 4th thing that has worked for me in getting to this financial milestone. And that is creating a sales system that can also run without me. So I am the go-getter. I am the girl that will cold pitch, that will go after the sales, that will be in your DMs, that will be chatting up and tracking all of my leads in my business, whether that's for, again, my management services, my consulting services, or for my coaching or my digital products. However, I am also a very small team. Like, I am, as I said, still very much a solopreneur. I have one regular contractor who's my operations manager, and she also works across my content studio. And I also have some contract video editors to help me with my content. But primarily, I'm a girl. I'm a one-woman team. I'm just a girl. That's the trend that pops in my head when I think of that. But the cool thing is, I think we're in this really unique opportunity in this world where technology has enabled just a girl, one girl like me, to be able to go and build a business like this, because we have all of these cool automations, we have AI, we have all of these opportunities to create sales funnels and for things to work on autopilot. So I can step away from my business, and that's very intentional. That's why I've built this hybrid business model with multiple revenue streams, is because my primary goal is freedom. Like, I don't want to be a slave to my business. Like, I did that for my 9-to-5 job, and I left that for a reason. I don't want to create that reality again for myself in my own business. It was around 2022, 2023 where I started introducing automated sales funnels, particularly for my digital products, but you can also introduce this for your one-on-one services. And I think you can see that with my income, right? That is where we got that steady jump to being over and to be clearing the $200,000 mark. These are the kind of funnels that work in the background of my business and mean that I can take a holiday and still make sales. I still remember vividly 2023, around March, April, May, around that time of year, I was in London, and I remember course sales just coming through every day when I woke up, and I was mind blown. I was like, how is this happening? Even though I knew how. Like, I'd built the funnels, I'd put everything in place, but that was where a new world really unlocked for me. And that is where you get out of that trap that everyone talks about of trading time for money and having to be present for every single thing that you're doing to make money. Now, I do have a YouTube video here on my channel where I talk all about how I make my digital products. And it's a kind of like a do it with me style tutorial where I make a digital product in 24 hours and I show you all of the steps and the processes. So if you'd like to watch that, again, I'll link it up on a card on YouTube or link it down below in the description. Now, of course, I've told you all the things that have worked well in my business. We can't help but go over all the things that maybe didn't quite go according to plan so that you guys can learn from my lessons and maybe hit this milestone even faster than me. I've pulled together just my top 4 biggest lessons and things that I would consider maybe mistakes in my journey. I could honestly probably write a list of 20, but that's the journey of being a business owner, right? We learn these things, lessons learned the hard way. But anyway, the first thing that I've written down here is, of course, undercharging. Who saw that one coming? I honestly believe in my heart I would have cleared the $1 million milestone a year ago if I had learned earlier on in my business how to charge my worth and how to charge more for premium services. And I think, it's always going to be an area that I struggle with, and that is just so human. I talk about this all the time with my students. Like, pricing is such a personal thing. It's such a personal trigger, and it's okay to struggle with it. Like, it is the most human thing ever. But I kind of wish I could go back to past Ellen and grab her by the shoulders and just give her a little shake and be like, you do not need to charge $300 for that. Like, add an extra zero, girl, like, back yourself. And it is often one of the first things I look at with all of my clients, all of my students. I just recently had someone join my mastermind and we did like a full pricing audit of their business. And I was like, we need to bring all these prices up. So it's this universal struggle, but I just want to say for anyone else listening, you're probably undercharging right now. Like, increase your prices. Just do it. Just do it. My next lesson, we have kind of already touched on it, but I'm going to bring it up again because I think it's important and I need to drill this home. When I first started my business, I really thought followers were everything. And I also thought that I was just going to quit my job and be able to make so much more content and automatically, after a month, I was going to have 10,000 followers. And in reality, it's been a slow process. It's been a slow but steady journey of growth over time. And that's literally this video, right? It is the slow and boring way to be a millionaire as a creator, I personally think. And I really wish I could go back and change the mindset of myself earlier on. Again, I feel like I kind of had this breakthrough by the time I got to my second or third year in business, is realizing that my money was not at all, or my income was not at all tied to my follower count. And maybe it is one of those things you can't change. You just have to live through it and see the change in your reality to then be able to believe it. My other mistake was definitely waiting too long to hire people. And I know I said I am the solopreneur girly, like I don't have a huge team, but I do think hiring the right people, hiring people where maybe my skills lacked, has been a real game changer in increasing my income and also my visibility in my business and just overall general happiness, right? Like, we can't do all of this stuff on our own, and we can still maintain the beauty of having a solopreneur style business while, not being afraid to ask for help, right? And not burning ourselves out. So a lot of people see me as like the anti-agency girl and the anti-hiring girl. And I'm definitely not anti-hiring. I just don't like hiring for, the badge of honor, right? To be like, oh, look at my team of 10 people. I'm like, actually, I'm more impressed by someone who runs a 7-figure business and they have a team of like 3 people. That's impressive to me. And then the final thing I wanted to chat about in terms of lessons learned is my shift in mindset. I really have shifted from operating and thinking like a freelancer to thinking like a CEO. And a lot of that, a big part of that has come from prioritizing my own business and actually realizing that I'm my most important client. And I'm going to call out all my fellow social media managers, my photographers, graphic designers, all the service providers listening today. It is so easy to get caught up serving your clients and dropping everything to make them happy, including dropping your business, right? Dropping the ball when it comes to your own Instagram, your own marketing, your own offers, your digital products, right? And I remember quite vividly saying to my Facebook ads management team, who I don't use anymore, I do my own Facebook ads now, but back then when I had an ad management team, this was around 3 years ago, I was like, my dream would just be to have 1 or 2 social media management clients and then just spend the rest of my time coaching, running online courses, working with brand partnerships and all this stuff. Like, I essentially described the business model that I had today, but it took me years to actually have the confidence to go off and do that and to actually make it happen. And part of that was because I became almost, I don't want to say obsessed, but it was almost like I hid behind the fact that I had so many clients for my social media management services. I had like 8 different clients. I managed a team of community managers. Like, I hid behind that. And I think there was a fear in going all out on my own and being like, yeah, no, actually, Alan, you're going to make up 60% of your revenue from your digital products. Like, that was actually really scary versus relying on monthly retainers from other businesses, from clients. But in order for me to hit this milestone, that has been the shift that I have had to make and start thinking like the CEO. Like, I am the CEO of a business. I'm not just a freelancer. I really feel like there is a need for a part 2 of this video. So let me know if you guys would want to hear more. Maybe I can do a part 2 when I officially, go across or hit the $1 million milestone and we can break things down in a little bit more depth. But in the meantime, if you're new around here, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following the podcast or the YouTube channel. We upload so much goodness about all things business and marketing, and it is so good to have you here. And hopefully I will see you in next week's episode of the Dishing Up Digital podcast. Bye, guys.